convention underway in Tampa. The big show to anoint Mitt Romney and have this staged election against Barack Obama, his controlled opposition. Now, Ron Paul shouldn't have been a story in this mix in particular because they worked so hard to censor him of the process leading up to this convention, and yet here he is, several big stories, the biggest of which is that the TSA decided to harass Ron Paul and directly made the insinuation that his plane could be used as an explosive missile device to attack Mitt Romney. Oh, this really happened. Here it is on the Lou Rockwell blog. Kurt Nemo, of course, has the story on the top of InfoWars. TSA harasses Ron Paul and his wife in Florida. But here's this detail. One of the pilots noted that the plane, full of aviation fuel, was already a bomb, as the several TSA agents indicated that they had to check this plane specifically for explosives because Mitt Romney was in the area. This is Ron Paul, who is accused by many critics for not even attacking Mitt Romney through his words and rhetoric enough, and now here he is being manhandled by the TSA on the pretext that he would be somehow a physical threat in his private plane against Mitt Romney and their little phony parade at the RNC. Well, this all ended when they insisted on patting down his wife, Carol, who has a pacemaker. When she refused, the TSA agents began to get indignant, but one of their aides began filming the incident. They got nervous and ended it quickly. This is the disgraceful incident serving as a vicious parting shot. Those are the words of Kurt, apropos from the establishment, who have once again worked time and again to shut out Ron Paul's supporters and delegates, to silence Ron Paul in media coverage, and make sure he was not seen as a viable, credible candidate within the Republican Party's little game for establishment nomination. Then again, on the convention floor yesterday, a hot mic caught further evidence of the establishment's ongoing efforts to censor Ron Paul. Paul Joseph Watson's story, hot mic catches Republican praising censorship of Ron Paul. And it was during the roll call at the convention yesterday, the attendee was caught on a hot mic praising the fact that they had done a good job in blacking out Ron Paul when the mic apparently accidentally cut out the listing of Ron Paul's delegates after Mitt Romney's. Those delegates were reread and entered into the official record, but the point being, you had key officials who were nearby microphones or directly on microphones being part of that cover-up openly. The quote was, "Well done. Whoever controlled the microphone did a great job." There's no identification of that RNC individual. Again, this is the same RNC establishment, Republican Party, GOP establishment, who told us that if Ron Paul even won the Iowa caucus, it would ruin Iowa's reputation and hurt the Republican Party. That was all just to try to tell people you're not allowed to choose Ron Paul. Of course, he later won those delegates, but we're getting to the delegate situation as well as they rewrote those rules. Oh, whoever controlled this sham of an election sure did a good job. Well, they had a lot of hands making light work in that effort. Now, you can imagine how much work must have gone on behind the scenes to make sure that all the threats from Ron Paul delegates of making a stink, of making their voices heard, of trying to nominate him from the floor wouldn't happen, so Romney could have this graceful parade celebrating the general election larger sham. Now, part of that was the changing of the GOP rules. Joe Wolverton at New American has the story. RNC disenfranchises Paul delegates, rigs the rules to nominate Romney, and so they've changed some of their technical memorandum rules, which disbarred a number of Ron Paul's delegates, even though he had nowhere near the number at this point in time to get the delegation. In particular, 10 of Maine's 24 delegates were locked out of the process. You recall some of the shenanigans that went on with the Maine vote as well, I'm sure, and they were thus prevented from voting for Ron Paul from the floor. In protest, those Maine delegates walked out of the Tampa Bay Times Forum, leaving them, in essence, to just play their predetermined winner game. And you can imagine that happens. And this is, once again, reason why political parties were always warned about by our founding fathers. They're not part of our constitutional process. They're not part of American laws. They make their own internal rules. So it's no surprise to see them rigging the game so that Romney can look like the clear winner with no real competition. Now, on the other hand, there's been a big influence from the grassroots people, from the constitutional voices. The system has heard that message. They've locked you out of the official dog and pony show, but we're still affecting the national debate, not only through Ron Paul, but through hundreds and hundreds of important issues. So just keep up your work at a local level. I don't think we're going to get the answer through the national presidential election political process anyway. In other news, a congressman has called for more research into the safety of airport X-ray scanners, of the naked body scanners, over the radiation issue. It's the Long Island Congressman Steve Israel, and he has indeed made his voice heard. He says, I have a high regard for the TSA, but I also know when government says, trust us, and we don't have to open this up to more scrutiny, that's exactly when you should open it up to more scrutiny. That's what he told WCBS 880 Long Island Bureau Chief, and went on to make other comments. Certainly, this is a good move. I don't know about praise.
The one other problem with freedom, because people will misuse it, the one rule is you can't ever use it to hurt anybody else.